After watching Equestria Girls as Cake Dragon suggested, I honestly say that I still love the movie. If not, I love it even more than how I did when I first saw it. Let me explain why. Although I can understand why a lot of people hate it with all of these like being these little issues that they're all coming up with. I mean, yes, I could throw a couple of like what they missed out on the movie, like why are little kids in high school, or Flash wasn't really a developed character that well. Yeah, that's true, but then again, stop and think for a second. This was originally based off of My Little Pony. Now, before the Brony community, just think My Little Pony. I mean, we're all proud of it, obviously, but it's a TV show that was originated for younger audiences. But they're thinking that they threw shoutouts to us. Not necessarily. Like, what I would like to think that they were doing was that they were actually trying to remind us of this world, and more like comparing this alternate universe with how Equestria was originally. If you just like look at all the imagery, and you can tell it's more of a comparison than a shout out to the Brony community. So that's where I think you're mistaking yourself. Honestly, like maybe you're just a little upset because Snips and Snails were put as a bad guy. Now that's understandable, because we already seen them in this position before with Trixie, so it shouldn't be a big of a surprise to see them again in this role. And for as much credit as you give Megan McCarthy, Spike was actually written very well in this movie. I mean, he is the voice of reason, and it really shows on that, and some of his lines were actually pretty funny. And in this movie, he is witty. Like, he is really smart. Smarter than Twilight entering into this new alternate world. First, let me start at the beginning. First of all, the introduction was just amazing. I need to get this out. The introduction was just super badass. Like, with music like that, I would ask a DJ to play that at a club. What I would like to move into is that for me, this is all based on opinion, but for me, like, all of the jokes were pretty funny. Like, for like a guy my age watching a movie like this, like, all of the jokes made me laugh, because it's a little cheesy, it's tacky. It's, again, the jokes are based all off on opinion, and that should go back into the songs as well. It's just all in the human perspective. But they were produced quite well in this movie. They were, like, for 4 to 5 songs to be in this movie, they were all done very well. They all sound good. Yeah, they're simple songs. We gotta help Twilight get the crown. We gotta come together and be friends. Well, yeah, because this, moving back to my other subject, this was originated off of My Little Pony, meant for a younger audiences. There was a couple of things I did run into. There's like a few little mistakes that should have been fixed. To answer your complaining on why Fluttershy found the crown and just gave it to the principal, well, it makes a lot of sense. I mean, it was found on school grounds, not knowing whose it was, so it would make sense to give it to the principal, to the higher up, to take care of a situation like that, so that way it's either delivered to the person it originally belonged to, or how she could have seen it in another way, give it back to the principal, where it belonged, quote unquote. That makes absolutely good. That makes sense. I don't know how that is very unusual for you. Going back to a little bit before that, I was really loving how I was really loving that, like, how they really like portrayed, like, on how Twilight was adapting into the new world. Like, I was sold on that, and I found those jokes hilarious. Now, it really does succeed at bringing out that atmosphere and that characters, and they really did flesh out the characters a little bit beyond than how they originally were. and it was done perfectly well. Like, to me, 90% of the jokes were pretty funny for a little kid show, so I give those guys like major props. It did have a lot of subplots. That was one issue with the movie. But then again, they were all solved. And that is the right way on how a movie should be run. When you have a plot, you need to have closure for that plot. And that's what was done in the movie. Alright? And about Flash. I don't know, over time I came into peace with Flash. Or Brad. But the only issue that I had with him was that he wasn't well fleshed at all. I think he's still in the one dimensions. He wasn't really, he's just that background guy to be a love interest, in my opinion. And if you've noticed, it's not that Flash did have a thing for Twilight, but if you look at it from the beginning, Twilight developed a crush, and Flash was just going along with it. So, it turns out that Twilight had the feelings before Flash it's basically Twilight developed a crush, and then Flash kind of just like developed a crush right after her. But then again, it's not all under Flash's motives. It's really great if you know the show before you see the movie. But that's also the downfall. You have to know the show in order to understand the movie. I mean, I ignored all of those shoutouts, and I had a blast because I knew those characters. I knew where they were all developed. I understood the setting. Like, I understood the show. But like, if I didn't know the show, my thoughts would have been different. I'm not saying I would have hated it. I mean, the characters were done so well in this movie. Probably would have been a different perspective. But I still would have thought I would have liked the movie. And the working was great. Music was well produced. Good score. Voice acting was great. The writing was okay. It was a little mediocre, but it was good. It was good. But other than that, it really had me liking it. This is Zagular. See what you have next up for me, Dragon Cake.